Sharpening is the key to unlocking woodworking. Woodworking is this amazingly therapeutic thing that we like to do. Sharpening is the basic opposite of that. But the two are intricately joined, and in order to fully enjoy woodworking, you need to have sharp tools. Sharpening doesn't need to be a painful process. You do need to understand what it means to be sharp, what sharp is, and then how to get there. So when you're trying to get a tool sharp, there are two things that are very important. One is that you want the two planes that define the tool to come together in a very finite line. The thinner that line is, the easier it is to move the tool through the wood. But in addition to being very small at its smallest point, it also wants to be very smooth. So if you can picture a serrated edge, that is effective at sort of sawing through, but what we're doing with sharp edge tools is slicing the wood, right? We're just sort of pushing all the way through the wood. We're not using the chisel in any sort of a sawing action. So we need to have a very smooth, very sharp edge, meaning that it comes to a super fine point and is smooth across the top. And the way we're going to do that is generally a three-step process. So the first step we call grinding. And in the grinding process, what we're trying to do is shape the tool. When you finish with the grinding process and you look at the steel that has been rubbing on your abrasive, it's going to look a little bit like that. The abrasive in the grinding process is very aggressive, so it tends to dig deep grooves into the steel. So when you look at it, you might not be able to see this detail. You will see that the light is reflecting in a way that makes it look like it's sparkling because there's so much depth to the steel at that point. When you're done with that step, it's time to move on to the second step, which is honing. And the honing process is this sort of unsatisfying process that gets you quickly from grinding to polishing. The reason you want to get quickly to polishing is because this is where the sharpening actually takes place. But if you jump from a very coarse abrasive in the grinding process to a very fine abrasive in the polishing process, you'll spend a very long time here. So the honing is a little bit of a cheat that gets you more quickly to an effective polish on the tool. When we're done with the polishing process, it is very shiny. It will almost have a chrome-like appearance. And that's because those vertical grooves that both of these steps leave should be completely gone. Should be able to see any scratches in the surface of the steel when you're done with the polishing process. And in addition, the tool will finally be sharp. And we have several different tests for determining if you've actually reached that level. The one that I like is to shave the hair in my arms. You'll know then that it should shave and slice the wood cleanly and easily. So in this process, a term that you'll often hear used is grit. And grit refers to the number of particles that exist in a certain area on your sharpening medium. So you can imagine as the number goes up, the size of the individual particles in a given area is decreasing. And as the number goes down, the size of the particles in a given area is increasing. In the grinding phase, generally, we're working with a very low grit. We want large particles that are going to aggressively remove material. When we get to honing, the particle size decreases a bit. And then when we get to polishing, we're looking for very small particle size to actually polish the cutting edge of the steel. In this class, we're going to show you how to sharpen with sandpaper on glass, Japanese whetstones, diamond stones, and lastly, we're going to show you how to sharpen with the Tormek, which is a motorized grinding system. The thing to keep in mind is that when you're talking about grit on sandpaper versus grit on a whetstone versus grit of an abrasive on leather, it's not a very good comparison. So in other words, 1200 grit aluminum oxide powder on a leather strop is much finer than 1200 grit on a whetstone and so on. So we try not to compare grit across the platforms, but rather look at the grits within each of the platforms for comparison's sake. And to add to the complexity, when we're talking about diamond stones, we don't actually have a grit. What we're usually given is a description such as extra, extra coarse, coarse, and so on. We've been teaching sharpening for over 40 years now, and often for beginners it can be a very frustrating process. And the reason for that is that it takes very little action when you're sharpening to send you backwards in time 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even an hour. So we like to, before we let our students actually start the sharpening process, talk about all of the things that can go wrong in an effort to make their first sharpening process as smooth and quick as possible. This is the condition that we want, right? We want this edge to be sitting perfectly flat on the abrasive medium, particularly during the grinding process. Now, when you start, you might not have this condition. You might find that only the heel of the chisel or slick or plane iron is touching the abrasive medium. This is unfortunate because it means you need to take off all of this steel to get this edge flat on the abrasive medium. The other possibility is that you purchased a tool with a very acute angle. The problem with an acute angle is that it's not durable. So in particular, when you're talking about a chisel, you drive the chisel through the wood using a mallet. So that little edge takes quite a bit of abuse. In the grinding process, ultimately, when the toe of the chisel is hitting the abrasive, we get this little burr develop here. And that is steel from this face of the chisel that grinds off but clings on this part of the chisel. And sometimes you can see that. Mostly though, you can feel it. You do not want to move from the grinding phase to the honing phase until you are absolutely 100% certain that you feel this burr. And you want to feel that burr all the way across. All right. If you feel a burr here but no burr on this side of the tool, you're not ready to move on. Up to this point, I've only been talking about the beveled edge of the tool, but we will also sharpen the back side of the tool. When you're sharpening the back, you want to make sure that this edge stays perfectly flat on the abrasive. If you start with the back, you will develop a burr here on this side. And again, before you move on from the grinding process, you want to make sure that you feel that burr all the way across. One of the mistakes that often gets made that adds a huge amount of time to getting your tool sharp is to lift this end of the chisel, so that now what you have is this. Even if it's for one stroke, so you're sliding your tool back and forth on the abrasive and by accident you lift the handle end and draw back toward you, you've now created a flat spot here on the tool. In order to get rid of that flat spot, which you need to do to get a sharp and well-performing tool, you now need to remove all of this steel all the way along the backside. That can add an hour, 2 hours of time to do that. So the sharpening process should be a very deliberate process. Everything you do, you want to be in charge of, and you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing the whole way through. No part of this is sort of arbitrarily moving your tool on the abrasive and not paying attention. Sharpening can be tedious because you need to be very focused on every move that you're making during the entire sharpening process. In this course, we're going to show you 4 different very specific techniques for getting a razor sharp edge on your woodworking tools. So let's look a little more closely at each individual system. The first system that we showed you was the Shelter sharpening system, which consists of sandpaper on glass and a leather strop and the aluminum oxide powder for the strop. This is certainly the least expensive entry point for sharpening. You can put together your own Shelter sharpening system with a piece of leather and glass and sandpaper. The thing to keep in mind is that you always want to have plenty of sandpaper on hand so that you can work through the sharpening system. And Gabe has made the argument quite compellingly that this system is as fast as the Tormek. Now, he's been sharpening for a couple of decades now, so he has a lot of experience, and he's able to key in on some of the nuances that allow him to get through that system very quickly. The second system we showed you was the Japanese whetstone system. We used 2 different stones. One was a 220 grit for the grinding phase, and the second stone was 1000-6000 combination stone, so it was 1 stone with 2 different grits. This system I find to be the trickiest to master, so if you are very new to the sharpening world, this might not be a great system. The whole idea of having to pause partway through the sharpening process to dress your stones can be a little bit frustrating, and it can disrupt your thought process and physical movements as far as getting the tool sharp. And I do find that it has the most variability in it. The great thing about this system is that it renews itself. So unlike the diamond stone and unlike the sandpaper, just as a part of using those stones, you are taking off abrasive on the surface of the stone and exposing fresh abrasive. So it is a relatively fast cutting system. I have never felt like the process has stalled out when I'm using the Japanese whetstones, except for when I have to pause to flatten the stones again. The third system that we showed you were the diamond stones. This is a system that I used to use until I ran into that problem with my Japanese slick. And because I do use the Japanese slick all the time, once I discovered that problem, I started looking for a different system that would allow me to sharpen all of my tools. I will tell you that the diamond system is a little bit expensive to get started with, but because it is always flat, it's very attractive. The big issue that we have had and that we've heard from our customers is this idea that over time, the stones seem to act less effectively. And I mentioned this during the module on the diamond stones, the idea that these don't renew themselves. So you buy them on day one, they have a certain number of diamond chips on them, and that's what you have to work with for the life of the stone. Most of the time, what causes it to seem to not act as effectively as it did when it was brand new is a little bit of iron from the tool steel getting left on the stone, which then turns to iron oxide and expands dramatically so that when you're sharpening, you're just moving the chisel back and forth on top of steel that has turned to rust that was left in the stone. So it's absolutely critical that you clean those stones at the end of every use to make sure that there's no iron whatsoever left in there that can turn to rust. I do think that if you maintain them well that way, you'll get many years of good use out of a good quality diamond stone. And then of course, the fourth system that we showed you was the Tormek. We've already talked about how it requires electricity. There's a very high entry point in terms of cost. Again, I think if you're thinking about getting into woodworking professionally, this is a really good choice because it gives you the option to sharpen many different things. So we showed you how to sharpen some timber framing chisels and slicks and plane irons on it, but you can also sharpen needle gouges, very, very delicate woodworking tools on the system. You can sharpen drill bits and scissors and axes. I found once I bought the Tormek that all of the things in my house had never been so sharp because I would routinely sharpen scissors, kitchen knives. It was so quick to sharpen my timber framing tools. It was much less of a painful operation. I tended to sharpen them more frequently and keep them a little bit sharper. It can be a difficult decision, but a good way to think about it is in terms of a specific project that you have in mind. Another way to think about it is what is the least expensive way to get started sharpening? And certainly the Shelter Tool system wins there. And three of the systems that we showed you, the MK2 honing guide by Veritas was a critical part of the system. We do think that if you're going to use any of those three systems, you really should start with the purchase of that tool. We've talked about several different accessories that are available for that Veritas honing guide, which make it a very versatile sharpening system. It allows you to sharpen square edge tools, skew chisels, plane irons, and actually put that rounded edge on the plane irons that we discussed. So you do get a lot for your money, and that is common to three of the systems. If you're thinking about getting into woodworking professionally, or you have a complicated relationship with money, you might consider purchasing the Tormek. It is an expensive entry point, but it is very quick, and it too allows you to sharpen a broad array of tools with all of the accessories that are available. In addition to the expense, the other downside to the Tormek is that it requires electricity to run. So you need to make sure that that will always be accessible. If you're working on remote job sites, you may not always have power. That might not be a good decision. The other thing you might consider is getting several different systems so that, for instance, if you're working somewhere where there isn't power, you always have a backup system. Again, purchasing the Veritas honing guide allows you to use either sandpaper on glass or the diamond stones or the whetstones. I hope that information is helpful. Again, I think perhaps looking at your first big woodworking project will help guide the decision. We've all had that experience where we envision a beautiful work of art. We get the wood, we pull our tools out, and we start to work. and the vision does not match the reality. Dull tools do not create works of art, they create frustration. In this course, we're going to get you beyond the frustration of dull tools and help you get quickly and efficiently to a razor-sharp edge so that you can begin the therapy of enjoying woodworking.